start today with the greatest win in Chicago Bears history in the regular season in Game 2 of the year that I can perhaps ever remember. Bears 16, Broncos 14. Ethan Blumenthal, good to see you. Eddie Pinheiro from 40 yards in the second quarter, from 52 yards in the second quarter, and then from 53 with 1 second to go. Bears win, and they're 1-1. If you start 0-2, you have an 11% chance to make the playoffs. That would suck when you're trying to win the Super Bowl. And so now
it would be even harder if you were trying to win the World Series.
It would be even harder, right? You're exactly right. This was a big moment in sports history time.
Yeah, it was. He walked up there and he kicked the shit out of that football, and he's a savior.
So Eddie Pinheiro is a hero right now. If he misses a couple kicks next week against the Redskins, perhaps he will. You know that narrative could change.
Instantly. Yeah,
it's the life of a kicker. Tough life, right?
It is.
Like you got your job security is basically 1 week. You kick well this week, we love you. You don't. There's got to be somebody else out there.
If I could just go on the record and say that I think kicking in football is stupid altogether, and they should just completely outlaw all forms of kicking, punting, kickoffs, field goals.
But think about what you would have missed yesterday if you had that.
Well, then the whole game would have been played differently. And maybe, the Bears might have, tried to score another touchdown at some point. Could have been interesting.
Sure. I do think the important thing to focus on is what Eddie Pinheiro is focusing on. Mm-hmm. And that is that this kick came from the heavens.
Yeah, the biggest thing I could say is, if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you better start because he's real. And that's like the biggest, on that, that's the biggest thing I can say.
If you don't believe... Let me hear that again. Let me just one more time.
Do it.
One more time.
If you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you better start because he's real.
If you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you better start because he's real. This is tough for us.
That begs the question, Carm. What's a Jew to do?
What is a Jew to do?
Yeah,
we think that Jesus was a sweet dude. We think he was awesome. We think he had great morals, and we think that he was, for lack of a better way of putting it, the man without going into full Jewish history.
Yeah,
but we don't.
The savior, the guy who's going to help us kick field goals,
right?
No, you know what? Every time I've ever kicked a field goal, I've been doing it by myself. Without Jesus by my side, guiding my leg.
This is, the Bears last year eliminated in the playoffs, and everything about yesterday was going to be a loss too. And now he.
So you're trying to turn me? You're trying to turn the 15 years of Jewish day school, all the years of going to synagogue. We got the high holidays coming up on this day of days. You're starting to lean the other way.
Well, let's go into it. Here, listen to this cut. He was asking the Almighty for it.
I've been practicing, my whole life for this and all the stuff that I've been through. Like I was praying, God, give me this shot to win the game, and thank God it happened. So
he was on the sideline praying. He was asking in his mind, Jesus, please let me have this. Please let me have this. And it shouldn't have happened. Game should have been over. Mitchell Trubisky completes a 25-yard pass. If Chris Harris Jr. doesn't touch the Bears receiver, game's over. But somehow, some way, it's like God almost touched Chris Harris Jr. down in, and then the referees were like, "What do we do? Wow, let's put 1 second on the clock."
And not to mention them roughing the passer call that made that all possible, which we all agree was ridiculous. Now there was a ridiculous one on the other end too. But all of those things. So you're right. So we're starting to turn. So you hear on the podcast, you heard it here first. Two Jews starting to lean the other way. Is that what's going on here?
Well, I don't know if we're quite all the way there, but here, let me play one more cut. This is more of this prayer thing.
Running out to that kick, just doing some drive swings and hitting some balls into the net, and then setting a prayer, and then just leaving it in his hands. And if it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen. So
he sent the prayer, he left it in his hands, meant to happen, and bang.
Yeah.
And so now, I'm actually worried that we're talking about this podcast right now that something bad's going to happen to us walking out of here.
I understand, and we got the high holidays. Rosh Hashanah is coming up, Carm. Okay, a couple weeks from now, what are we going to do? We walk into synagogue.
Right.
How are we going to look at our fellow peers in the eyes? Yeah, our fellow Jews.
Right. Those are my two favorite Jewish holidays
too.
I love Rosh Hashanah and I love Yom Kippur. Yeah. People are reacting on Twitter to this, Ethan. They were
to the Jesus Christ mark.
Yes. At Dan Wiederer from the Chicago Tribune, who covers the Bears, his tweet, faith-fueled kicker Eddie Pinheiro was asked to describe his adrenaline rush of making the game winner. Quote, the biggest thing I can say is if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you better start because he's real. Now that, at this point of podcast talking, 36 retweets, 292 likes. This is the day after. So here we go down the list here. At Poetic Sports Fan. So if he missed, Jesus wouldn't be real. At C. Roan Bender. If he makes kicks like that regularly, he could annoy me with that sort of stuff all he wants. These people are annoyed by this. They don't like it. And then there's other people. Sean W. McConnell. He's giving his glory to God. God does not want the Bears to win or lose, but he does want those who have been given the opportunity to glorify him. So, because a lot of people do say that, like, do the Bears really want? Did God want the Bears to beat the Broncos? That doesn't make sense.
Because there's people on the Broncos fans, I'm sure there's some Jesus Christ believers there too.
Yeah.
So Jesus, why didn't Jesus just steer the kick right for them? I mean, there's a lot of questions on the table here, Carmen.
Right. Can't be good tweeting. Maybe Parkey was Mormon because God hates kickers that are Mormon. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here.
Is there more to that? Is there more Mormons that we know of? Not that Cody Parkey is actually a Mormon, but
yeah, we're right. And that's the other thing. Like the next tweet is Cody Parkey believed in Jesus Christ, and look where he is now.
Yeah.
I mean,
where is Cody Parkey now?
Not in the NFL.
So I'm at the he's serving out those Popeyes chicken sandwiches, maybe.
Which is a delicious choice. I love that choice. There's a thing going on here. Athletes love when they score touchdowns. They love to pray to the Almighty, and then they love to.
But when they get tripped up in the backfield, it's never Jesus who tripped him up in the backfield.
Right. Right.
So I don't know. It's hard for me to say. I think as obviously two Jews in a podcast here.
Two Jews in a pod.
I'm gonna stay the way I've been going. The past 27 years. I'm gonna keep on that track. Matzo ball soup. Coming up here.
So good.
A good brisket.
That's delicious.
All of these things. Gefilte fish. Are you gefilte fish fan?
I love gefilte fish.
I love it.
You got to get the what's it
the
called?
Horseradish.
The horseradish.
Yeah,
right.
You have to.
Not the horosis.
That's on Passover, and that's the apple.
Apples and the nuts.
Yeah.
Not halitosis, horosis. But it could give you halitosis if you eat a lot of horosis.
Well done, sir. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So you're staying on the path. And my father, I can hear him in my head right now. Don't you go on to the On the Mark podcast. That is his religion, and show him respect. And I think that's a very valid take by Papa Fred.
Sure, yeah.
But when I watch a guy score a touchdown and immediately, or a post game interview, and they feel, because they're on this platform and making all that money, that they were touched by the Almighty. They see everybody. That's how I see it. They see everybody else out there is living the regular life, doing podcasts and whatever else they're doing, and here they are doing this, and they feel like they've been.
Now,
been
do you ever walk away from the podcast thinking, "Man, that was a killer podcast. I was touched by God on that podcast," because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to perform so well.
Honestly, I've never done that, but maybe I should.
Think about it.
We are so, for real, we are so incredibly fortunate to be sitting here doing this or doing anything and just having the day, man. Think about what else could be going on. This is a huge win. Maybe
Absolutely.
I think that might be the lesson from that I'm going to take from Eddie Pinheiro. I didn't know where this was going to go in the conversation, but maybe it's just that, you know what? Let's actually feel the joy of every day, no matter what you're doing. How's that?
Yeah,
I feel better with that.
If I can steer this, for a good reason, I believe that Jesus Christ is not a Bears fan, because if Jesus Christ was a Bears fan, let me tell you something, he would not have had the Bears trade up from the third pick to his number 2 pick to draft Mitch Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. So, I think, right, there's no way Jesus would do that to Bears fans. If he truly wanted the Bears to win, he wouldn't have done that. And that's the case. If Patrick Mahomes is on the Bears right now, who cares? They don't even have to have a kicker, right? They don't ever have to kick the ball because their defense is so good. Patrick Mahomes is leading an offense instead of scoring 16 points a game. They're Patrick Mahomes, by the way, he threw 4 touchdowns in the second quarter yesterday against the Raiders. Yeah,
that was 287 odd yards, and just the guy's preposterous.
Yeah,
he's like a combination of Dan Marino and a quarterback that can run, pick anyone that you want. All right, if we're going to go into Mitchell, Trubinsky, I think it's important that we actually come up with the name for Mitch Trubisky at this point. I did Bears post game with Dan Hampton and Ed Obradovich and Glenn Kozlowski, and Kaz was calling him Stink Bisky, Stinkisky, and I think that's brilliant. And then I go back in time when he got to the Bears, I said, look, because there was a big conversation, Mitch or Mitchell, and I'm like, Mitch is the dude that's at your frat party. Mitch gets hammered. Mitch shows up in flip-flops and plays golf at 1 in the afternoon on a Sunday and after drinking all night. That's Mitch.
Okay.
Mitchell is your accountant. Okay. Mitchell is your lawyer. Mitchell is a guy you can trust. So
Mitchell was staying up studying all night while Mitch was out partying.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Mitchell was getting his stuff done
Right.
while Mitch was being a total clown.
Yeah.
So, and at the time, Trubisky was asked, what do you want to be called, Mitch or Mitchell? And he said, I don't care, because he does not know how to think for himself, by the way, which is being proven out over and over and over again. The guy flat out is just perhaps not that bright. I hate to be...
Well, maybe he's somewhere between Mitch and Mitchell, and that's that in-between path where he really has no idea.
Right.
He doesn't have an identity.
Yeah, he's sitting. Yeah. It's a great one. He's sitting on the fence on his name and who he is and how to play quarterback. He still hasn't picked a lane, and so his mother called him Mitchell. So he's like, "Well, my mom calls me Mitchell." Well, yeah, man, go with your mother. That's a nice.
It's always a good safe bet, fallback, just whatever your mother said, do that.
Sure, but then if you want to be like the contrarian, I ain't following mom, and I'm the wild kid, more Jim McMahon, Jay Cutler-esque, if you will, in Bears quarterback history, not Kyle Orton or Rex Grossman-ish, then let the hair flow out, Mitchell. I mean, Mitch.
Was Rex Grossman Jewish?
Grossman was not a Jew.
No?
Sounds like a Jew.
I mean, he was a short quarterback. Grossman
looks like a Jew.
Rex,
M-A-N is a big thing with key with a Jew.
Yeah.
Like Mark Carman.
Yeah.
M-A-N, you throw in an E there. I'm not Jewish, but M-A-N. Rex Grossman, Jewish. I'm doing quick.
This is the important things that we're going to find out on the podcast.
Rex Grossman, Jew or not Jew? Rex Grossman, you can lead your team to one of the best records in the league and steal their weekly cries of how you're a bad quarterback. Verdict, he's not a Jew. That's from JewOrNotJew.com. Which is really a website, by the way.
Well, yeah, of course it is. So I think maybe it's fair to say that if Grossman was a Jew, maybe the Bears would have won the Super Bowl in 2005.
Maybe. So I don't know if I would actually go that far. But
I know we needed that a little extra push. Though.
I think. Well, right. But I always prefer a non-Jew when I get to my athletic endeavors.
Okay, all right.
I need non-Jews playing for me. Let the Jew call the game.
Okay.
Jewish announcer, great guy. Jewish athlete.
All right. Shots fired at both of our tennis games right now.
Right. Well, yeah.
We've talked about tennis on the podcast, and now you're just
right. Well,
throwing us both under the under the bus.
I like Diego Schwartzman, but he loses to Roger Federer every time.
Yeah. He lost to Rafa Nadal.
Yeah, loses to Rafa Nadal every time. But Diego's had a nice career. Okay, so what do you think we should call him?
I mean, here's the thing. I don't think Stink Bisky is going to sell us many T-shirts.
You don't think so?
I mean, would you buy a Stink Bisky T-shirt?
I might.
You might? What would be the graphic? I think the look of panic. I think the look of panic when the pocket closes in. I think that's a good whatever face. I think he was making that face that last throw that he made where the pocket's closing in and he's like, oh shit. This is where I could have used a few more prayers. Okay, because then he escapes out of the pocket and now he's feeling free. Now he finds a wide open guy down the field.
Did you like the bomb down the sidelines with about 2 minutes to go that was 10 yards wide right?
I mean, you mean the one that was out of bounds, by 30 feet? Yeah. I did like that, and that one. It's not a good pass when you have to wonder: was he trying to throw that ball away, or was he actually believing that somehow that ball could have been in bounds and caught?
He definitely was not trying to throw that away. If I was throwing a bomb, that's what it would look like 50% of the time. If a guy's running down the sidelines, I'd leave it 10 yards wide right that only the cheerleader could catch. If
I could say one thing though for Trubisky is that I watched a little bit of the Packers and the Minnesota game beforehand, and Kirk Cousins did not look very good either. He was Mitch Trubisky-esque. Okay. So if that just makes people feel better, that the point is there's a lot of bad quarterbacks out there, and the Bears just happen to have one of them.
Maybe that's the thing. Trubisky-esque, Trubisky-ness, Mitchness, Mitch-esque, Mitch love.
I think there's maybe something with Biscuit,
Biscuit?
Biscuit. What would we just call him Biscuit? Trubisky, Biscuit. I like Biscuit, sounds good. Put the biscuit in the basket. That's what I always say when I'm watching basketball games.
We don't have to name him, but I just feel like he needs. I need something to orient towards right now because it just feels like
I think maybe we're only 2 games into the season, maybe a couple more games in, it'll really just call out